This month marks my 15-year anniversary of being a professional software developer, which means two things. One, I'm getting old, and two, in theory, I can offer some advice that some of you might find useful. Personally, I feel the top three advice I can offer is always be growing, stay at the bleeding edge, and learn to do the real work, not the busy work. Now, I'm gonna get into detail into each of these, and I'm gonna throw a bonus advice at the very end, so stay till then. But let's get into the first one. Now, always be growing seems super easy, but I feel like it's probably one of the hardest one, because we as human, we like comfort. So it's very easy to find a job where you get comfortable and a year or two pass, and then you kind of just settle into a flow. And I always like to challenge that and tell people, hey, if you're not growing and you're kind of just settled into your role, maybe you could look for a new job where you could be challenged and or you could change teams to do something that's more interesting, right? There should be some change happening over time. Me personally, I switch jobs every 2 years like clockwork. It was actually kind of bad for the first 10 years of my career, but it actually wasn't bad. It was perfectly fine. I know a lot of people are scared of switching jobs, that they might not be taken seriously and stuff like that, but I've been doing it for a bit and I've never ran into issues. Now, I'm not in the initial 10 years of my career, so I'm not switching jobs as often, but I make sure I'm still growing in my professional career. Now, with the times, I would say there are two caveats. One, don't just switch jobs without accomplishing something. I've always left in good standing, so whenever I left a job in a year or two, I make sure that it was after I launched something or I finished something or something went live. A few reasons for that, but one is so I can have it on my resume, and two is so that I can keep my professional brand intact, right? Which is always, I deliver whatever it is I'm working on. Now, don't just switch jobs because it's been 2 years, right? Switch jobs because it's been a minute and you're not growing. The second caveat, of course, is there are a lot of layoffs happening right now. So, take any advice on the internet with a grain of salt. But I felt that advice is still relevant, and I felt like it was still important to say, even though I understand, it might be scary times right now. Another note, someone on Instagram asked me if I still switch jobs every 2 years, even though I work for a big tech company, number one, which is where I work at now. Now, this is a fair question, and I would say it depends, but I'm going to sort of quote the author of the book Work Rules, which is Laszlo Bock, who used to be the head of HR at big tech company, number one. Great book, by the way, you should check it out. He says for the first 10 years of your career, you should experiment, work at different companies, work at a startup, work at a big company, work at a nonprofit, etc. What that's going to help you is get a level of breadth that someone who's just been working at the same company for the last 10 years wouldn't have. And then in the next 10 years of your career, you kind of declare a major, he says, and you specialize. And in theory, that second decade of your career, you're able to specialize and really excel at a much faster rate compared to someone who's been highly specialized for the first 10 years. Now, I was doing this by mistake, but as soon as Work Rules came out and I read it, I was really happy because I was like, oh man, I've been doing the right thing, at least the right thing according to this book. So when I heard this quote, I felt a little validated, like I didn't feel bad for all the times I switched jobs, right? Because to be fair, I also felt like I was gaining so much by switching jobs and trying different things. So I wouldn't say I'm switching jobs as often as I used to in the past, but I still think it's a valid point, so I wanted to mention it here. Now for my second advice, which is be an early adopter or stay at the bleeding edge or work with the latest technology, however you want to take it. It seems silly, but it's been super beneficial in my career. Most time when new tech comes out, people, and especially big companies, they don't start using it right away. So you should consider your role to bring the new technology in and then gain those benefits. One quick story. I remember when Git came out. I was such an early adopter that for the next 10 years of my career, wherever I went, I was the Git expert, and that gave me a ton of workplace capital, right? I was known as the expert in something, and that's been super beneficial. So staying in the latest tech, not so much the trends, but really the ones that are gonna last, is super beneficial. Now, the question I get all the time is like, how do I know which are the trends and which are the ones that are gonna last? So my take on this has always been any technology that simplifies your work or helps you accomplish your goal faster, it's probably worth investing time, right? It means it's probably gonna last. If it's just like small incremental gains, it's probably not worth it. If you think about it, something like right now there's a bunch of crypto and there's a bunch of AI. The benefits of AI over crypto are so clear, right? You can tell that, hey, I'm using AI to, speed this process up or do this with this tool. Where crypto, it's like, iffy, right? So for me, that's kind of how I know what to invest my time in and what to avoid. So that brings me to my third advice, which is do the real work, not the busy work. And specifically, do the real work during working hours, not late at night, which I did for a long time in my career. And it seems silly, but it's super important to understand what your deliverables are and what's expected of you. Your deliverables, Sally, are not to reply to every email within 5 minutes of getting it, right? Like, yeah, that's cool, people will like it, but no one's really gonna recognize you for that, or you're just not gonna be super productive by being really good at replying to emails, at least not as an engineer. This took me forever to really figure out and nail down. I would credit the book Deep Work for really helping me understand that and giving me a system for really getting the real work done. Another good book, highly recommended. So yeah, those are my top 3 advice. Just remember, always be growing, stay at the bleeding edge, and do the real work, not the busy work. I did say I would give a 4th advice at the end. So here's my 4th advice. While you can grow pretty quickly by yourself, you can grow even faster with great mentoring and support. So make sure you find great mentors. And remember, you can have as many mentors as you like. It doesn't need to be just one. On that note, thanks for watching. Feel free to share, like, leave a comment. This is my first video, so be a little kind. I'll be posting more video, and you can also follow me on Instagram where I'm a bit more active for now. Thanks for watching. Peace.